to the Jiffy Lube Rivalry Series.
Dabo is closing in. ACC champ game, college football playoff, and the chance at career win number 100 tonight. Clemson's peaking at the right time. Kelly Bryant's arrived with those legs that are churning up yards. But don't get caught up in the hype when a fiery rival awaits. Jake Bentley in South Carolina, 8 wins into a season of ascent. The Cockaboose is rocking. One of the most intense in-state clashes in the country is roaring tonight. ESPN College Football Prime Time, presented by Hampton by Hilton. And it is prime time in Columbia, South Carolina. They first started playing in 1896. 114 heated meetings later, and we arrive for this. Number 3, Clemson against number 24, South Carolina. As we say, good evening, Joe Tessitore and Todd Blackledge. We'll check in with Holly in just a little bit. You hear that out there, my man? Do you hear the rumblings of this great sport on a day like today? It has been awesome. We know what happened with Auburn and Alabama. Number 1 has gone down. We know what happened with Miami yesterday. And here is Clemson trying to avoid such a stumble, and it comes with the added pressure of a fiery rival.
And you know, I don't think Dabo Swinney would want it any other way. His team is healthier than they've been for about a month. They're kicking it into championship gear as far as their execution, and this in-state rivalry has got their attention. They are well positioned to control their own destiny, but make no mistake, this South Carolina team is a much better team than the one that they played and demolished last year in Clemson. In all 3 phases, they're a better football team.
Never again. That's what everybody down here has said for the past year after what happened against Clemson a year ago. South Carolina players and coaches have put forth that mantra. They're looking to show their in-state rivals that they are back. Pure, unbridled passion here at Williams-Brice. We got number 3 and number 24 in a bitter rivalry. Kickoff is next.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Peloton. Join high-energy cycling classes from the comfort of home. And Pizza Hut, the best pizza delivery deal. Order today with a large 2-topping pizza for just $7.99.
Welcome to Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
The longest uninterrupted rivalry series in the South. They have played for 107 consecutive years, and this one will, of course, determine so much. Can Clemson stay the course for the college football playoff? South Carolina won the toss, and they will receive. Todd, your thoughts on that decision?
Well, I think they want to try to settle into the football game, and this is the way they want to do it.
And Turner on the return. And he gets past the 25. Let's go down to the field to Holly.
For South Carolina, their quarterback, Jake Bentley, took over midway through the season last year as the starter. He was so good, he was named co-MVP by his teammates. But he wasn't good against Clemson in one of his 6 starts. Just 7 completions for 41% of his passes against Clemson. He vowed never again would he play like that, or would his teammates. That has been their mantra all offseason in conditioning workouts. Leading into this week, never again. The #1 key is when adversity strikes in this game, and it will, they will respond. They've promised.
As Bentley will get the night started. And coming up to make that stick was Dorian O'Daniel. As we look at the impact players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Now, the running back A.J. Turner for South Carolina is a little undersized, but boy, does he play big. Hayden Hurst, 81, 24-year-old former pro baseball player. Bryant and O'Daniel are so capable with the defense for Clemson as Turner takes the carry there. Bryant has 7.5 sacks. O'Daniel 5 sacks on the year.
One of the areas that South Carolina has to do a better job this year than they've done the last couple years against Clemson is 3rd down. Both sides of the ball, efficiency on 3rd down.
Looks like pressure coming off the edge here on 3rd and 5. They back off. Bentley over the middle to his reliable target, Hayden Hurst, for a 1st down.
Good place to go with the football. The best player, I think, on this South Carolina team right here. 6'5", 250 pounds, big target, and an accurate throw on the first 3rd down situation by Bentley.
9 yards on that 3rd and 5. There's some motion.
False start. Offense. Number 89. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
That's wide out Brian Edwards. South Carolina offense has been juggling the offensive line throughout the year. 9 players have started on the line this season. As they have a tough task ahead of them here tonight, Todd.
6 different combinations, or 5, and tonight, this is the 5th game in a row that this group has been together, but this is the best test of the year against this front.
Here's Bentley on 1st down. Plenty of time as the line held up well. Farrell makes the tackle that time, as it was Turner coming out of the backfield.
Again, South Carolina choosing to take the ball after winning the toss, playing into the strength of this Clemson defense. I think they wanted to allow their team to settle into the game and not deal with the Clemson's offensive tempo right out of the gate. Let the emotion settle a little bit, and so far a pretty good job by the offense.
2nd down, Bentley. Wide open on the seam was Hurst, but he overthrew him.
Yeah, they had him. Ball just sailed a little bit on Bentley. In between the safeties, over the outstretched arm. But a nice aggressive mindset by the South Carolina offense so far to start. Kurt Roper, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, calling that shot and trying to get the ball again in the hands of their best player.
Third and 10. Bentley's going to tuck and try to run. And he's going to come up short as he was forced out by J.D. Davis.
They're going to come up short, but they moved the football. They made some 1st downs. Will Muschamp looks like he's going to gamble here.
Offense is on the field on 4th and 1 with the nose of the ball cresting up to the 50-yard line.
Now he could be just trying to call a hard count to see if they can get an easy 5. But the quarterback under the center look for a hard count to try to draw the penalty and then call timeout if they don't get it. That's what they're doing. See the quarterback's head?
Play clock down to 1.
Good discipline by the Clemson defensive front. They were anticipating that.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
It makes sense to punt the football here, Joe. You did what you wanted to do by taking the football. You made some progress. You've got the ball where you can punt Clemson deep and make their offense play against the long field. And now your defense can come out and deal with this Clemson offense and the tempo that they've not faced for a long time.
Joseph Charlton, the punter. And there is Hunter Renfrow, the return man. Charlton has 10 punts inside the 20, framed against just 1 touchback this season.
They don't know where the ball is.
It's set up for a perfect down, but they couldn't get there. Boy, Charlton did it every which way to help out the coverage unit.
Hunter Renfrow fooled the coverage unit. Hunter Renfrow ran to his right and short as if he was going to field a short punt. And the South Carolina coverage guys went for the fake and not the football.
Let's go to the field to Holly.
Well, guys, Kelly Bryant, the quarterback for Clemson, grew up just 91 miles away from this location. But it's been a very long journey for him to be the starter tonight. Hospitalized for over a month in high school, lost 50 pounds, had to use a walker to walk, but he's fought back. He's earned this job, and he's starting against his home state rivals tonight.
Always tough to be the man who follows the man, but he has done it well as Ray McLeod with a stiff arm and a good run to open up the game for Clemson.
Clemson is a perimeter run team primarily. They will run inside zone, but they like to get the ball to their speed guys on the perimeter, either with a sweep like that or quick throws. Good first down play for Clemson. South Carolina's defense has got to keep their feet in the ground against this offense.
Here's Bryant's first throw of the night and gets it complete to Kane. Impact Players brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Well, Clemson has had a lot of success with their freshman running back Travis Etienne. 11 rushing touchdowns. Hunter Reynolds already saw his impact on the game in special teams. Wadham and Sky Moore. South Carolina's defense has gotten much better this year. Here's Feaster straight ahead for a Clemson first down.
South Carolina's coaches were concerned about the tempo that Clemson plays with. They have not faced a tempo offense since September 30th when they played Texas A&M. Very difficult to simulate with your scout teams. Clemson plays very fast.
End around with McLeod testing the other side as he breaks free for a moment, and he'll move the chains again. 11 yards for McLeod.
What a block by Hunter Renfrow, too. Not a very big guy out there, but he got a devastating block on the perimeter.
South Carolina has a player who was slow to get up at the end of the play. That was DJ Smith, starting safety.
Watch Hunter Renfrow in the slot. He's the guy that's going to block on DJ Smith. Caught him with his head turned. Was not anticipating that block coming to the inside, and a nice run in a very nice opening possession for the Clemson offense.
Amazing what 180 pounds of grit can do, isn't it?
When the guy's not looking, especially.
And here he is, Renfrow to the outside with the reception. Wadham got out there and made the tackle.
Coming into the game, Renfrow tied with Deon Cain as the leading receiver on this team with 46 catches, but ironically, only his first touchdown catch of the year came last week in the win over the Citadel.
Second and 6, line doesn't move as they throw back to Richard, and he's tackled right away that time as Montauk played it.
I don't know what happened there. I've seen Clemson do this when they think they have an offsides penalty, and the entire line stopped. Nobody moved. There were only about 3 people that moved on the Clemson offense, or they moved late, and it did not fool South Carolina at all. A negative yardage play by the Gamecock defense to slow the momentum down by this Clemson offense. That was an unusual play for Clemson.
Loss of 8, 3rd and long.
South Carolina showing 3-man rush here.
Bryant looking to extend the play. And now he will tuck and run, and he is met right away that time. Good work from Chris Lamons.
Really good defense. Rush 3, drop 8. Tempers flaring on the Carolina sideline. Rush 3, drop 8. And then just keep eyes on the quarterback. Play zone defense, keep eyes on the quarterback scrambling, and make him pull up short of the first down. But the second down play was just so strange, putting him behind the chains after an outstanding start to the possession.
So that'll send Will Spires out to punt for Clemson. As this will go inside the 5, opportunity for the Tigers, and they come up with it. Isaiah Simmons downing the ball down at the 1-yard line. Big night here at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina.
Boy, field position such a huge factor in games like this, rivalry games, when you anticipate close games. Perfect execution by Clemson on their punt situation right there to really pin this South Carolina offense back.
Isaiah Simmons on the coverage unit. He was able to corral it at the 1, and now Bentley and South Carolina trying to get out of a hole here. A little bit of breathing room.
Let's go back now. South Carolina had a chance to flip the field, but Hunter Renfro fooled the coverage units. Beautiful job of him as a decoy of where the ball was. They couldn't get it. Now, on the other end, the South Carolina return man, he just showed a fair catch, but it was the same trajectory of the football. It did not fool Clemson, and they were able to down the ball inside the 5-yard line.
That's a great point of analysis by you. He stayed in the same path of the ball where Renfro took his men away from the ball.
Oh boy.
Oh, this is going to be danger. And it's Ryan Carter, pick 6.
Definitely a misread between quarterback and wide receiver. Brian Edwards was turning this into a fade route, and Jake Bentley threw it like it was going to be a quick hitch. And the result, deep in his own territory, was about as bad as you could get. A pick 6.
Been an amazing career for Ryan Carter, the guy that Dabo said, yeah, maybe he was about a 1.5 star.
Yeah.
Former Kendichi high school teammate. He has been awesome. The senior with the pick 6 to get the night rolling.
ESPN College Football is presented by Hampton by Hilton. Book a room today and follow your team all the way. And in part by BMW, we only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine.
Clemson defense with their 3rd pick 6 of the year. Ryan Carter taking it back 12 yards. And miscommunication with Jake Bentley and his receiver. Turner now on the return. Let's go to the studio and check in with Adnan. Thank you, Adnan. Saw Demario Richard ran for 165 yards in that game.
One of the things that Jake Bentley has shown in his young career is the ability to shake off a mistake or a bad play and move on to the next one. That's why his team has so much belief in him He's got to do it right here.
Right back to it as he checks down to Williams, who is cut down by Mullen.
This Clemson defense is so strong. They're so strong up front in their ability to pressure, and then they've got speed all over the back end of their defense. Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator.
And they're a lot healthier than when we saw them a few weeks ago against NC State, aren't they, Todd? Good wiggle that time by Williams.
That's a good run. Second down and long. I really felt coming into the game that South Carolina needed to try to shoot for about 75 yards of rushing. Just enough to show balance and to make this Clemson defense play honestly. If they were able to just pin their ears back and go after Jake Bentley because there was no threat of a run, it would be a long night for the Gamecocks. But runs like that make the Clemson defense play honestly. And it gives you run-pass option on third down.
3rd and 2. Bentley goes to Hurst right at the sticks. And that'll be a first down for South Carolina.
Again, the benefit of that good run on second down is a quick throw out of the hands of the quarterback. And Hurst, a very smart player, knows what he needs for the first down, and they pick it up.
Go with Williams again. Well blocked for 12 yards that time.
Really nice double team on the left side. South Carolina lining up to go with a little tempo, but some good runs here early in the ball game.
Snap was off the mark, and the mesh point was as well, but Tyson Williams makes the most of it for 4 yards.
Yeah, nice job by Bentley fielding this snap that was off to his left. And then Williams securing the handoff. That could have been a disastrous play. And as it turned out, it was a gain of 4 yards. Alan Knott, the center, right in the front of that middle of that offensive line, has been their best performer. The only guy who has started every game at the same position.
Empty look here on 2nd and 6. They're going to bring some pressure right off the edge against Bentley, who steps up, tucks, and slides. And we will check on that spot. It'll be 3rd and every bit of 2.
Bentley describes himself as a reluctant dual threat quarterback. Doesn't love to run, but he's a tough kid, and he will. He actually has 6 rushing touchdowns that have all come in the last 4 ball games, but normally he's going to run when they get closer to the red zone or the goal line. That was a good decision to bring up another manageable 3rd down situation where the quarterback does not have to hold the ball for a long time.
3rd and 2. Denson with the carry, stacked up immediately that time and driven back.
Well, just too many white shirts. Clemson expecting run. Watch, there's too many white jerseys here to block. There's only 3 blockers on that side. And too many white jerseys. They just collapsed all the holes. Great gap discipline by the Clemson defense on the right side. And they forced the punt.
Renfro back out there as Charlton nearly gave them a pin opportunity last time he punted. This time reverse rotation. It'll be short, and the fair catch at the 15. Number 3 up a touchdown early here in Columbia. Expedia reminds us that we're here at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. Dr. Pepper's championship drive game of the week. This is an 8-win team that's been bubbling up in the SEC. They went from unranked to getting a 24 next to their name this week. And what a challenge tonight with Clemson getting healthier and really clicking.
The strength of this South Carolina defense has been their front here the last 4 or 5 weeks. They're going to mix a 3-man front and a 4-man front throughout the night.
Here's Etienne, dynamic true freshman from Louisiana, as he goes for 5.
Yeah, he's one of those hold your breath backs. I mean, he has the ability every time he touches it to turn it into a huge play. He's already had 4 runs of 50 yards or more on the season. Very dynamic, gets started quickly and finishes fast.
Goes for 7.7 yards a carry. 2nd and 4. Bryant to the outside. And that is Kane with the reception. And they will quickly get to the line with a fresh set of downs. Empty look here with Etienne in the slot to the top of your screen. And off the hands that time of the young Travis Etienne.
Some soft coverage so far in this ball game. A little against the tendency for South Carolina. They've been a pretty heavy man coverage team. A little bit more zone to start this game. Trying to keep things in front and keep eyes on the quarterback, who has been a dangerous runner all season.
Here's C.J. Fuller as he muscles his way out to the 34-yard line.
That's interesting. This Clemson offense has really played to their strength this year. Coming into the year, they had lost some great skill players led by a 3-year starting quarterback in Deshaun Watson, but they had 4 returners starting on the offensive line, and they have leaned on that offensive line and a group of running backs to really run the football at a high level.
This is Bryant trying to do it himself, but a wall of South Carolina defenders led by DJ Wanham.
Well, both linebackers did a great job as well. There was a stunt to the inside, and that forced Bryant to bounce it a little bit wide. And look at the 2 linebackers. Sky Moore and TJ Brunson right there, closing up the gaps. Good short yardage defense by both teams on that exchange of possessions.
The second time Bryant has come up short on a 3rd down run. So Spires out there again. As he drives this downfield over the head of Lamons inside the 10. Oh, the ball is being fought for there, but it was recovered indeed by South Carolina.
Did you see how Lamons went after it? I think he might have felt like he touched it or wasn't sure what he was supposed to do.
Well, the body language definitely screamed of that, but a 58-yard punt with a little danger at the end. Perhaps he did at that moment as he went for the ball, but it'll be South Carolina's ball when we return. Glad you're with us watching ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton, part of Jiffy Lube Rivalry Series. 7-0 Clemson on top. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe with you 2 times now that special teams has cost South Carolina with field position with the punt game.
Well, it makes you a little bit more conservative with your play calling, and then the last time they were pinned down, it led to a disastrous play on the pick 6.
Go down to the field to Holly.
Guys, some injury news for Clemson right up the middle. Their middle linebacker, Trey Lamar, is not playing in this game due to injury. So in his place, J.D. Davis, number 33, was starting. Well, he got injured in the first couple of series. He has spent extensive time in the medical tent. They put a new brace on his knee. In his place, a sophomore, James Skalski, is now in the middle. So down to their 3rd-string middle linebacker for Clemson on this drive.
Skalski led them in tackles last week, and his twin brother, Judah Davis, also getting some playing time. So the pick 6, the difference as it stands right now as Clemson tries to stay the course. From here in Columbia, South Carolina, you're watching the SEC on ESPN as we continue Dr. Pepper's championship drive game of the week on a day when Auburn toppled Alabama, an Auburn team that this Clemson group defeated back on September 9th.
South Carolina 4 offensive drives in the game so far. Their average starting field position, their own 13-yard line.
2nd and 5 to open up this second quarter. Williams trying to drag Farrell ahead. And it'll be 3rd and short.
The good news for South Carolina is that they've already run for 55 yards against this Clemson defense. Those are good running numbers. Now they do have the interception that was returned for a touchdown. But that bodes well if they can maintain that kind of offensive balance against this very talented Clemson defense. 3rd down again, an area that they've struggled against the Tigers the last 3 years on both offense and defense.
Tyson Williams will remain the back here in I formation as some communication issues between Bentley and his running back. Play clock was down to 1 because of it.
Timeout, South Carolina. Timeout on the feet.
Will Muschamp ran down the sideline to get that timeout.
We'll take a short break and see 3rd and 1 when we return.
The ACC title and playoff position for both teams on the line.
Week from tonight, Todd, it'll be the 5th time that Clemson has played for the ACC championship since 2009.
You take a look at that. Here's the crazy thing about that game right there that they lost. Since Dabo's been the head coach, they've only lost 1 game when they've rushed for over 200 yards. It was that game. They had 323 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns and still lost to Georgia Tech.
3rd and 1 for South Carolina. As they pass and get it complete, Williams will have the 1st down.
Free release by Williams. It was an inside blitz. Both inside linebackers blitzed and nobody peeled off to pick up the back. A good call against that pressure and a new set of downs and some decent field position now for the South Carolina offense.
2 Clemson punts have pinned them. And now out to the 28-yard line for Jake Bentley. Bentley with time downfield, far beyond the intended target. That was Davis. Adnan? Been a lot of chatter about what'll be happening down at A&M concerning Coach Sumlin. The silly season is about to start, and it may be the silliest that we have seen in years with the coaching carousel. Here's Denson, nothing there. Bryant right on him, just a gain of 1.
That's the problem when you throw on 1st down and you try to throw down the field. If you come up short or incomplete, 2nd and 10 against this Clemson defense is very, very difficult.
There is the number that Clemson's been putting up. 5th in FBS for defensive conversion rate.
Clemson showing a little 3-man pressure at this point. They brought 2 inside linebackers the last time it got burnt.
Good strike that time by Bentley as he finds Brian Edwards.
Really good protection, a clean pocket for Jake Bentley. Watch the protection. No white shirts around Bentley, able to step into the throw. South Carolina going with a little tempo. Good catch by Edwards.
Not much there as Huggins gets the tackle of Williams.
It's not much, but again, it's an accumulation. 56 yards rushing. That's Bobby Bentley, the running back coach, also the father of the quarterback. Jake Bentley was a very successful high school coach at Burns High School in South Carolina.
But to your point, they will be very contented to just keep things balanced tonight. 1 yard here, 2 yards there.
And it limits the shots for the Clemson offense as well.
2nd and 8. Quickly gets it to the outside to Smith, who is wrestled immediately by O'Daniel. Holly?
Well, to follow up on your point, talking to quarterback Jake Bentley, he knew that this Clemson defensive front would be one of the best they've faced all year. And he said, our challenge is for our offensive linemen to win their one-on-one matchups. I loved how he said it. Our focus all week long has been win your sandbox. It's a little tiny space. I can just imagine a little kid. I am protecting my sandbox. That's kind of what they're doing here with these small runs, but keeping on track.
Yep. It's been enough balance to keep the Clemson defense honest to this point.
Well, right now, big Christian Wilkins is in the middle of that sandbox here on 3rd and 5 for the Clemson defense. Bentley, and it's batted by Wilkins and then falling harmlessly to the ground. But the 6'4" Christian Wilkins said, not in my sandbox.
Put down the pail and the shovel, jumped up and got a handful of football. And really a nice job by Ortre Smith, number 18, preventing an interception. As this ball's up in the air, normally bad things happen. And Ortre Smith prevented the interception.
Charlton's got to be careful here with Ray McLeod back deep. Boy, did he boom every bit of this one. Great boot, and they couldn't get it again.
And they're too focused on the return man. And for the second time in the ball game, a returner for Clemson has fooled the coverage team for South Carolina. Ray knows it's over his head, but it's too late for the Gamecock coverage guys.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Jiffy Lube, proudly pouring Pennzoil Synthetics, and Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
Ryan Carter's pick 6 has Clemson up 7-0. Clemson team that is 14-1 in night games over the last 2 seasons, and 7 of those 14 wins against top 20 teams. South Carolina has worked their way into the college football playoff top 25.
Kelly Bryant 4 for 5. All 4 completions have been 5 yards or shorter. And that's kind of been a consistent thing with them all year in their pass game. A lot of safe throws for Kelly Bryant. If they think they get a matchup problem on the outside, they'll take a shot down the field.
Here's Etienne as he looked for some space. Makes the most of it for 4 yards, tackled by Thomas.
You know, Joe, South Carolina is in this ball game for sure. I mean, they've settled into it, but you cannot make the kind of mistakes that they've made so far. A couple in the special teams, a mistake by the quarterback on the pick 6. When you're playing a team as good as Clemson, you have to play as clean of a game as you can, and so far they have not played a clean football game.
Rogers coming out of the backfield, leaving Etienne on 2nd and 6 as they have a blocker out in front, and look at how quickly he can go. Travis Etienne.
Again, another short throw. I mean, this ball is 1 yard beyond the quarterback. Out of his hands quickly. Nice job out in front by Sean Pollard, the right tackle, number 76.
47.
And Etienne is just so dangerous when he gets the ball in his hands.
23 yards there.
Looks to be a little shaken up at the end of that play. Down on a knee on the sideline. As is Keir Thomas, number 5, a really talented young defensive end for South Carolina.
We're looking at Thomas's left hand. And Etienne took some contact there as he was full steam on that reception.
Keir Thomas for the Gamecocks.
Thomas has had himself a very productive season, a sophomore from Miami. As Adam Choice now comes in at running back for Clemson. Bryant. That was lofted beyond Rogers.
Ball kind of floated on Kelly Bryant. It's a long throw from the right hash to the left sideline, but it really sailed on him. He had the opening. Again, soft coverage by South Carolina, inviting those short throws.
2nd and 10 now. That was batted at the line of scrimmage that time by Wanham.
Wanham is their best pass rusher. That time he was kind of just in a hold position with his eyes on the quarterback. Even though he leads the team in sacks, this time he's going to just get into the tackle, hold his position to keep his eyes on the quarterback, and time a jump. He's really more in pass defense than he was in pass rush mode that time.
6 sacks leads the team. This is the spot for that. 3rd and 10. Bryant with time over the middle and gets it complete to T. Higgins. A flag is down as the true freshman for now has a 1st down inside the 30.
Well, I think they're going to call holding on South Carolina. I think the play will stand. Sky Moore.
Holding. Defense. Number 10.
Yep.
That penalty's decline. 1st down.
It was 3rd and 10. And it was a 24-yard completion. Watch Sky Moore reach and grab the intended receiver as he was coming across. T. Higgins, who Dabo Swinney thinks has a chance to be one of their all-time great receivers if he keeps developing, and he has really started to come on.
Choice at 5'8", tough to find on the inside there to the 25-yard line.
Last year, Wayne Gallman was the workhorse. He ran for over 1,000 yards, had 232 carries. This year, they use a lot of different guys at the running back position, but they're actually running for about 50 yards per game more than they did a year ago.
Going to send Choice out of the backfield. He's going to throw on the vertical that time, and the flag will come in as DeAndre Overton was looking for space against Fenton.
Well, Mike, yeah, the ball was still in the field of play, too.
16. 1st down.
So pass interference tagged against Rashad Fenton.
He's got his hands on him from the very beginning. I mean, he's holding him the entire time. I mean, that's a pretty easy call. That's not hand fighting, that's holding by the corner, Fenton. This is the part of the field where you have to really be aware of the quarterback run game as well, right here with Kelly Bryant.
So they overload the right side and now shift Choice to the backfield. And here is Bryant on the ground, but he is forced out, and a couple folks got run over on the sideline. That was a little aggressive by Sky Moore.
Well, so it definitely happened out of bounds. My question was, and I'd like to see it again, did they just trip and go to the ground, or did Sky Moore actually tackle him out of bounds? I have a feeling they just got tangled up on the sideline out of bounds. I don't think Sky Moore. Let's take a look and see at the end of this.
You can tell that Moore feels that way as well.
Foul. Unnecessary roughness. Penalty is half the distance to goal line. 1st down.
He makes contact in the field of play.
Oh. He was on number 10.
Sky Moore didn't make the tackle as much as the photographer. That's why Kelly Bryant went to the ground, but Sky Moore could have pulled off the play as well. Team's leader, team's leading tackler, a very veteran, experienced player, probably should have pulled off at the end of that play.
Now the PA announcer is admonishing the fans here at Williams-Brice as some of them were throwing bottles down at that end of the field.
One of the least penalized teams in the SEC coming in. That's 4 penalties now against South Carolina here in the first half. And they were only averaging 4 a game coming into today.
And with that, it'll be 1st and goal. Tavian Feaster in the backfield now. And Feaster will get it down close to the 1-yard line.
Talked about the mistakes against a team like Clemson, special teams, turnover, penalties, all the things that you can't do against a team as good as Clemson. They will take advantage of it.
Feaster. Touchdown, Clemson. His 6th rushing touchdown of the year.
Ran right behind the big left guard, Taylor Hearn, one of their best linemen. Big number 51 is going to bury his man, and Feaster's going to go right over the top of him and get that ball across the plane. They took advantage of penalties. They took advantage of South Carolina mistakes. They got the big 3rd and 10 throw by Kelly Bryant. And now they have a 2-touchdown lead.
It was a 9-play drive. As Bryant and company manage things well there. And Alex Spence will tack it on. And Clemson is up 2 touchdowns. Replacing Wayne Gallman. Running back by committee, Feaster finishes it. College football prime time presented by Hampton by Hilton, part of Jiffy Lube rivalry series. Of course, Taco Bell always a proud partner of the college football playoff, and we're on the lookout for the Taco Bell student sections. And a rocking and roaring one here in Columbia tonight in this rivalry game with a team that has given these fans such hope this year. They have won 5 straight home games, now a 2-touchdown deficit to the 3rd-ranked Clemson Tigers.
It's a very important offensive possession for South Carolina. They can't let this game get too far out in front. Last year they got blown out in Clemson. They were not even competitive after halftime.
Short kickoff by Spence. Fenton on the return. Let's go to the studio to Adnan. Of course, Adnan, Joey, and Jesse will get us caught up on everything with college football final, and we will know what's going on in the Pac-12 championship game if Washington State can win the Apple Cup, or will Stanford benefit from a Huskies win? Here is Davis as he makes his way beyond the 30.
Andricus Davis is a guy that they were hoping could be an impact player for him tonight. Shi Smith, a freshman slot receiver, kind of a quick, explosive guy, out for this game with an injury. Andricus Davis has been out a good part of the year battling injuries.
There is Smith, true freshman. Very good slot receiver. Will have a bright future ahead. 2nd and 5. Some pressure that gets picked up. Bentley's pass, I think, perhaps deflected there, and then Bryant had a chance at it.
Yeah, it's a good thing it was deflected, because if it would not have been deflected, it was going to be intercepted by Austin Bryant. Because it was deflected, the ball went down. There's the deflection, and because it went down, Jabril Robinson with the hand on the football. Otherwise, that might have been another pick 6, this time for Austin Bryant.
6'5" defensive end dropping into coverage and almost got the big jackpot because of it.
2 times the coverage has fooled Jake Bentley.
3rd and 5 now, and he is taken down by Farrell. 8.5 sacks on the year now.
Now this is a mistake by the left tackle. He gets caught up helping the guard, and he's too late getting out to Cleveland Farrell. I mean, he's too good of a pass rusher. You better get out there quickly. And that time, Dennis Daly, number 74, was just way too late getting out to Cleveland Farrell.
So Charlton to punt again and turns another ball over. McLeod will call for the fair catch back at the 21. Well, next Sunday, December 3rd, we will have the exclusive reveal, the final college football playoff rankings. Find out which 4 teams will get in. And we'll also unveil the other New Year's 6 bowl games. A 4-hour special that starts at noon. College football playoff rankings are brought to you by Capital One. And oh, the shakeup that a lot of people thought would happen as #1 Alabama defeated today by Auburn. There stands that Auburn team now. Those 2 losses, one early to Clemson, the other one that comeback by LSU, but they appear to be the hottest team in all the land. Bryant complete that time to Kane. Holly.
Well, guys, after that long run by Travis Etienne of Clemson, he'd been out of the game ever since. He got banged up. I heard him explain to some of his teammates on the sideline. He really took one in the gut, but he's got his helmet back on. Looks like he will be able to return to this game.
Yeah, that mixture of guys they use at the running back position, plus the running ability of Kelly Bryant, why they have run so well this season.
Bryant pursued and then taken down at the 30-yard line. Aaron Sterling.
This is an excellent hustle play by Sterling. He initially ran by Kelly Bryant but didn't give up on the play and was able to trip him up from behind and still get the negative yardage play. Kelly Bryant here on 2nd and long. You're thinking about trying to get half the yardage back. Give yourself a chance on 3rd down.
Quick throw, quick out, and he's able to get it complete that time. Out to the 37-yard line, a 9-yard reception to Greenlee.
That's all you want to do there. 2nd and long. Give yourself a chance. The last 2 years, Clemson has been outstanding against South Carolina on 3rd down. 1 for 3 in the ball game so far, but that one was a huge one in their last scoring drive.
South Carolina could use a stop here. 3rd and 5. Bryant complete. Renfro, Mr. Reliable. 15 of his catches now this year, resulting in 1st downs.
And this is a guy who just would not be denied. And when he caught the football, he did not have the 1st down, but he was able to drag the tackler about 3 more yards past the marker.
Bryant, not much there. Kerr Thomas, who left the game moments ago, back in.
Thomas had that thumb looked at. Back in the ball game, glove back on. And a nice play there, coming down the line of scrimmage for a no gain on the run. Feaster is out wide now, a different looking formation. Empty backfield.
2nd and 9 for Bryant. And somehow McLeod comes up with the catch with Fenton nearly draped all over him. It'll be 3rd down as the ball is just beyond midfield. The 3rd and a long 4. Dangerous T. Higgins in the slot to the near side here as Feaster remains the back. 3rd and 4. Going to take a shot downfield, and it is indeed T. Higgins as he carries a South Carolina player to the 9-yard line. 40-yard reception.
The step by the right foot just froze the defender. That was Jam Williams, the freshman cornerback, got frozen on the step inside. And then at the end of the play, there's a face mask that didn't get called. But Clemson in business again inside the 10-yard line. Beautiful route by the young receiver.
1st and goal because of it as they fake the end around. Bryant's on the run, dives ahead to the 6-yard line.
South Carolina has been pretty well locked in on quarterback run. That time Kelly Bryant looks like he might have got hit on the funny bone, was kind of holding his right hand. Might affect if he tries to throw on this play. Hit on that funny bone on your elbow. Sometimes your hand goes numb for a while. A little hard to grip the football.
Feaster inside the 5. It'll be 3rd and goal after the gain of 2.
Last year, with Deshaun Watson running the show. Clemson was 10 for 15 on third down. South Carolina couldn't get off the field on third down. After a good start, Clemson's starting to have their way now on third down. 3 for 5, but third and goal is about as tough as it gets.
Sprint right, Bryant pursued to the end zone. Touchdown, Hunter Renfrow.
Why do you target a guy so often on third down? Because you know he's going to be where you want him to be. Watch Renfrow move back inside when he sees his quarterback in trouble. Just uncovers enough, shows his quarterback the numbers, and Kelly Bryant puts the football between the 1 and the 3. Some guys just have a knack for being in the right place at the right time on third down. And Hunter Renfrow is that kind of receiver. He was that way for Deshaun Watson, and he's that way now for Kelly Bryant.
Check on the flag here as Dabo, you can see, is quite upset. It is an ACC crew on the field. Jeff Hazer, our referee. SEC upstairs for replay, ACC on
After
the field.
The play, unsportsmanlike conduct against the head coach for Clemson. That penalty assessed on the succeeding kickoff. The results of the play, the touchdown.
Dabo may be a little hot, but his quarterback was really calm and cool on that drive. Kelly Bryant had 3 third down completions, and the money ball to Hunter Renfrow, as that is no good. 20-0 will remain our score. Bryant came up big to this true freshman and a name you need to know right now, T. Higgins. And then Hunter Renfrow, his second touchdown of the season.
Clemson coach Dabo Swinney just spent this entire commercial break in a heated discussion with the umpire and the referee after getting called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. He is so furious because the student end zone filled with students of South Carolina have been throwing bottles, including after that touchdown, a bottle came out of the stands and he thought hit one of his players. Dabo reacted strongly, has been yelling at the officials to stop this unsportsmanlike behavior, and he is beside himself that he now has been called for the penalty after this poor behavior of the students. Even the South Carolina players are getting mad and throwing bottles back into the crowd at the students.
Well, you could hear before the microphone cut out, he said if you penalize them, that'll stop. And that's obviously why he's upset, concerned about the safety of his players.
This is a short kick that's fielded by one of the upmen, Fenton, and returns it to the 40. Adnan, what's going on? Very much look forward to that and getting everything there is to know about Alabama and Auburn. Nick Saban says, I don't think one game defines who you are. They will have to politic and hope that something happens elsewhere. Kerryon Johnson had another big game, but he had a shoulder issue as well. We'll check on that. Overthrown to the outside that time by Bentley.
Well, Jake Bentley, so far not having any better of a night than he did last year as a freshman. He was 7 for 17 for 41 yards last year. He's 8 for 14 for 42 yards right now with the pick 6. So a shaky start again against this Clemson defense for Jake Bentley.
2 days removed from his 20th birthday. Celebrated a birthday on Thanksgiving to Jake Bentley. 2nd and 10. Plenty of time, and then no option as Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins were there.
Well, it's a 3-man rush with 8 in coverage and nobody open.
First charge timeout, Clemson.
Well, Clemson's going to try to manage the clock here,
30
as it'll be a
seconds.
3rd and 10 for South Carolina.
Really, it ends up being a 2-man rush. The guy in the middle is just kind of there spying on the quarterback. That's Wilkins, and he's there to help polish off the sack. Dexter Lawrence is a great player. Now, he's been out for 2 weeks. Had a foot injury, got re-injured in the North Carolina State game, was not himself, did not play up to the normal level that he plays, didn't finish the game.
Reset the game clock to 1 minute, 38 seconds.
But he makes a huge difference.
1-3-8.
College football playoff rankings are brought to you by Capital One. And Todd, it is going to be a fascinating week of discussion. Auburn toppled Alabama. Miami and Clemson, of course, set to play, but Miami took the loss on the road yesterday. And Wisconsin remains undefeated with Ohio State waiting in the Big Ten championship. 3rd and 10. Bentley steps up down the middle and overthrew the intended target, Davis. So now 1:34 remains, and they will be punting away, and Clemson has 2 timeouts and leads by 20. 2nd straight 3-and-out for South Carolina. That guy right there, Joseph Charlton, has done his job. Coverage has not. He booted a 55-yarder with a 4.85 hang time earlier. They could use that kind of a punt right here. And he skies another. And once again, he placed it inside the 10, but it rolls through the back of the end zone.
Well, South Carolina coming into the game, they felt very confident, but you cannot make the kind of mistakes they've made in the first half. Their special teams let them down a couple times. Really hurt them in field position. A misread on the coverage by Jake Bentley led to the first touchdown of the ball game. And then the most recent touchdown was set up by a late hit by their best player. The leader of their defense, Sky Moore, picked up the penalty. And a team that had not been penalized very much all year with some costly mistakes in the ball game. And again, against a team like Clemson, the number 2 ranked team in the country, number 3 ranked team in the country, whatever they shake out to be, you can't do that. Kelly Bryant, meanwhile, 12 of 15, has hit his last 7. Nothing thrown more than 10 yards down the field.
As he was looking for Chase that time, Fenton had coverage.
The real question, and Will Muschamp told us yesterday, last year when adversity hit, we had some guys that just stopped competing. And we're not like that this year. We have a team that stays with it and will compete for sure. Last year they were down 35-0 at halftime. Right now it's 20-0.
Bryant going to go to the other side, low throw, but Higgins handles it and then gets free. I am telling you, watch out for this young man. He is growing up right in front of our eyes.
T. Higgins, 6'4", 200-pound freshman out of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Does a great job making the low catch and then breaking some tackles. Named after T. Martin, famous former quarterback at Tennessee.
Catch that time by Feaster, and interestingly enough, of course, T. Martin's son is a true freshman on Clemson's team, fellow wide receiver Amari Rogers. Clock counting down, 50 seconds, 2nd and 1. Bryant, big hit that time, delivered by Jamarcus King on Hunter Renfrow.
Jamarcus King.
So I don't know if they'll try it on 3rd and 1, but because they've thrown so many short throws, they are set up to fake a slant or some quick throw and take a shot deep and see if this South Carolina defense takes a bite at it.
That's where Bryant has been struggling recently. Coming into today in his last 2 games against Power 5 opponents, he was 0 for 15 on those deeper throws of 15+ yards. 3rd and 1, and able to get the first down, which will stop the clock for the moment. Of course, 2 timeouts remain.
Sky Moore on the tackle.
This is where they might do it.
First down.
They've thrown quick. They've thrown quick. South Carolina knows they don't want to give up another big play. They do have a middle field safety, which is good for them.
Here's Bryant. Batted at the line of scrimmage. 32 seconds remain. 2nd and 10 ahead.
Thought it was interesting. Dabo Swinney told us yesterday when November 1st hit, in terms of how they break down their season, they say that's championship season. And everything needs to pick up a couple notches from an execution standpoint. And he feels like his team is reaching that point at just the right time.
Bryant, pressure came and nearly picked off that time as Stallworth slammed into Bryant and Jamarcus King made a play on the ball.
Stallworth just beat the left tackle. Watch the inside move on the best player up front. Mitch Hyatt is their best offensive lineman. Has started 40 games, but that time the quickness of Taylor Stallworth. Boy, that was a beautiful move by a big man. Normally he lines up inside. That time he lined up at defensive end and whipped their left tackle.
They have converted their last 5 third downs. Now a 3rd and 10. Bryant's going to try to run for it, and he'll come up well short. Took a hit right on the white.
You cannot do that if you're South Carolina. Now they're going to complain on the sideline, but it was Kelly Bryant was giving himself up, and he was running out of bounds. And Sky Moore, I think, for the 2nd time in the ball game, makes a
foul for a late hit. 4th down.
There was a flag that came out, but they talked it over. But as you said, 2nd time we've seen this from Sky Moore. This time, no call.
Well, he clearly hit him in the white. I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't call it, but they certainly could have called it. He didn't pull off, and Kelly Bryant was definitely going out of bounds and giving himself up on the play. I mean, that they didn't call it, but they certainly could have.
See the official running in.
Well, they called it from down there, and this one didn't. But that's a good break for South Carolina. It really is.
Will Muschamp, his 2nd season here. Last year they made their way to the Birmingham Bowl. They were young. The true freshman leading them both passing and rushing. This year a little more maturity, a little fully evolved team, especially defensively. But of course, this is Clemson at the right time.
Time out, Clemson. 30 seconds.
This is a Clemson team that has been there and done that. They've been in big ball games. They've been in these kind of atmospheres. They know what it takes to play in games like this. And that's showing the difference between them and South Carolina in the first 30 minutes of play.
Hey, the Phil Knight Invitational is going to roll on. They got 2 more games tomorrow on ESPN. Good ones, too. Number 9 UNC. It's 4th ranked Sparty at 8:30 Eastern. And then 10:30, number 1 Duke against 7th ranked Florida. That is Sunday night. Good college basketball set to come your way. Well, you mentioned it, the way Dabo breaks down their season into segments. He says we got get ready, then transformation, then prime time. But November 1st is that championship phase. And you look at that scoreboard on a rivalry weekend like this, and that's the kind of halftime score you expect of a team that's ready to contend for a championship again.
Well, in any rivalry game, especially an in-state game, guys know each other. There's been a lot of chippiness in the first half. Unfortunately, more of it has gone against South Carolina. You have to play within yourself and play within the emotions and keep them in check. Play with passion, but play with smarts and a cool head as well.
Clemson seniors are looking to finish up against South Carolina. with 4-0. They're 3-0 coming in. They're 48-6 overall, that senior class. Of course, the national title in tow. Pick six got the night started. Then Feaster. And then Hunter Renfro. And 20-0. Number 3 on top. Lots to talk about in the game today. And for that, let's go back to the studio to Adnan Virk.
You're watching the Jiffy Lube Rivalry Series.
Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder.
Oh boy. Oh, this is going to be danger. And it's Ryan Carter. Pick six. Feaster. Touchdown, Clemson. Sprint right, Bryant to the end zone. Touchdown, Hunter Renfro.
Lightning and the thunder.
Welcome back to Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
On a weekend when number 1 lost, the number 2 lost, number 3 is doing just fine. Joe and Todd with you here. That one turnover was the pick six. South Carolina hasn't even hit 100 total yards here. What's the answer for them?
Well, they've got to sustain some things. They've got to get their passing game going. I mean, we expected them to maybe throw the ball a little bit better than Clemson. Clemson has been very efficient in their passing game. South Carolina has not been. They've got to get that fixed here in the second half.
And Clemson to start off this second half with ETN with a fine-looking return out to the 39-yard line. Here's moments ago, Coach with Holly.
Coach Muschamp, some of the strange things that have happened regarding field position. What did you guys fix in special teams for those punting situations?
Well, we weren't in pooch punch situations, so our guys weren't covering to the goal line. They were covering the returner. Joseph Charles just killed 2 kicks. So in both situations, you know, again, it's a tough deal. We weren't in a pooch situation.
Coach, what do you need to do to get going offensively? You've played pretty good at times.
Yeah, we've moved the ball. We converted some third downs. We've got to create some more rhythm offensively, hit something down the field. We've had some open guys we've got to protect a little better.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Bryant quickly to Renfro as he utilizes the block from McLeod. Gets free. A flag is down all the way back at the 44 as Hunter Renfro is looking to take it all the way. But we will see if it stands. What a play by Renfro, though.
I think they're going to get a holding. Boy, we'll see. Hunter Renfro goes 10 games without a touchdown. And now all of a sudden, potentially 2 in the last 2 games.
61-yard strike from Renfro.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 7. That penalty assessed on the succeeding kickoff. Results of the play, touchdown.
Career-long reception for Hunter Renfro.
And again, the passing game, the efficiency, throws short. There's the face mask right there on Jamarcus King. It doesn't slow down Hunter Renfro. Some bad tackling, some shoddy angles by the South Carolina defense right out of the gate. Not what Will Muschamp wanted for sure.
Worst case scenario for the home team. You come out, they get the ball, and Renfro does that.
Kelly Bryant is 15 of 22 for 220 yards, but most every throw has been right at or just beyond the line of scrimmage, but that's just poor tackling. Several guys with a chance. DJ Wanham, an easy chance for the tackle. Here's Wanham right here after the penalty. They still would have had the penalty, but DJ Wanham just overruns the play. And Hunter Renfro makes him pay for it. This has just been the case of a Clemson team that is playing a clean football game and a South Carolina team that is not.
You know, when this era of Clemson football is recorded and we look back at it, circle Hunter Renfro, the scrappy former walk-on receiver who's had so many memorable performances. Of course, none bigger than the game-winning touchdown with a second left against Bama in the championship game of the college football playoff. But he really embodies what it is that they've had. A lot of Dabo, a lot of fight, and a team and players that constantly are on the improve.
Jake Bentley vowed that he would play differently against the in-state rival Clemson Tigers this time around. Last year was a rough night, 7 of 17, 41 yards in the pick. Not a whole lot better so far. Now he's got a whole second half to play, but his team is in a big hole against a defense that thrives on pressuring the quarterback. So even though South Carolina is down 27, they can't just drop back and throw it every down, because this defensive front for Clemson's too good for that.
Williams push ahead to the 29-yard line.
Backside Williams on the carry. Christian Wilkins.
Williams, a transfer from North Carolina, went there for his freshman year, but he's originally from Sumter, South Carolina, so back home, set up last season. And he will get continued work here as he has a first down for the Gamecocks, 10-yard run.
That's got to be a check to a run, because Clemson is playing pass coverage right now, dropping a lot of guys out of the box, and that tells the quarterback to run the football.
And Venables hard at work calling the defense, and this time he is wrapped up by Farrell.
That one was not a call for the run. There were too many guys in there, and the run got blown up. In this defensive front, both ends, both inside guys, when they are healthy, there's not a better defensive front in college football.
And that is the case right now with Dexter Lawrence, who was injured the past few weeks, the All-America level defensive tackle who lines up right there next to Christian Wilkins on the inside. Big number 90. Speed on the edge, size in the middle, and a whole lot of talent, as this is complete to Brian Edwards.
Of course, as Alabama found out today, that Auburn defensive front is pretty good itself.
That Auburn team is pretty good right now. Think back what happened in week 2 when these two defenses met up. It was a 14-6 Clemson win back on September 9th.
And that's part of why Clemson has such a strong resume. The wins that they've had, even though they have the loss to Syracuse, the wins they had, they've got a lot of good ones.
There's a 3rd and 9, intercepted by Mullen. Trayvon Mullen with the pick of Bentley.
Trayvon Mullen is a tall, rangy corner at 6'2". In perfect coverage, after almost stumbling, recovers and gets underneath that football for the 2nd interception of the game for the Clemson defense.
Clemson defense with 2 interceptions now of Bentley. As you're watching ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton, part of Jiffy Lube Rivalry Series. Next Saturday, it's the Dr. Pepper ACC Championship game with these Clemson Tigers taking on Miami in the college football playoff on the line. That's 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Be interesting to see how Miami responds to what happened on the road yesterday at Pitt. Quick out this time to Overton for 5 yards.
Well, and for Kelly Bryant, his 16th completion, and that's 9 different receivers now that he has hit in the ball game. That's balance, and that's a quarterback whose eyes are working. He's not locking in on any one particular guy to get the football to.
ETN utilizing that block from Mylan Richard, another first down for Clemson. Holly?
Well, guys, it's remarkable to think that going into fall camp, Kelly Bryant wasn't even really going to be the starting quarterback for Clemson this year. In fact, Hunter Renfro told me we were really proud of him that, partway through camp, he kind of just took this job. People had talked about the other highly recruited kids coming in and just kind of forgotten about him, but he took it and has run with it.
He really has. And that was low for Rogers, but able to get it to him for a first down.
Well, and the good news for Dabo Swinney and for offensive coordinators Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott is if this game stays the way it is, they don't have to run their quarterback very much more in this ball game. And they can save that part of the game for that ACC championship game. Save a few hits on their quarterback with this big lead.
Pass. That play is under further review.
Steve Landis is going to take a peek at that. He's the replay official upstairs for the SEC. You can see the point of the ball, which really only becomes a concern if they felt he didn't have firm control yet. If you have firm control, the ball can touch the ground. That was Amari Rogers. Bill Lamagna, our rules expert, how did you see that?
By that view we just saw there, you could see his hands under the ball. As it came back into him, though, as his body comes down, what we can't see is, does that ball slide back through his hands?
Well, that's a good point, Bill. Right there,
yeah. Right there, you see his hands, but you don't see the ball. So there's a chance here that, you know, and I don't know if we have another angle, but there's a chance here that this ball slid through his hands and he trapped it down to the ground.
Well, you see the fingers slide up past the white mark of the ball.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
And that may have been a case of not having the second look there, Bill.
I believe so. You know, that you need indisputable video evidence, and we really didn't get it, though my gut says it was incomplete.
So Rogers becomes the 10th different receiver that Kelly Bryant has had a completion to, and it's a first down for the Clemson Tigers, who are very much looking the part as we head into this ACC title game as they fake the reverse and keep it on the ground with Feaster and Montag at the tackle.
Well, the thing that's so impressive about them in this game, they're on the road. It's a heated rivalry game, and they have played with no turnovers against the team that leads the SEC in forcing turnovers, and only one penalty, and that was against their head coach. They've had 2 long touchdown drives, and they got another good drive going here, and they've capitalized on special teams mistakes by the Gamecocks. They have played a clean football game.
In traffic, and that's incomplete. If you missed it earlier, there was an incident with Dabo having concerns, safety concerns. Holly, can you expand on that with your conversation with Dabo?
Well, right. At halftime, I actually talked with Dabo about it, and he said, you know, that's my mistake. I did it in an improper way and got too heated, but he was trying to make the point that the officials had to call a penalty and stop those students from throwing the bottles into the end zone because it was getting unsafe. I would estimate about 20 bottles had been thrown at that point in the game, and it was getting a little bit ridiculous.
That's the end zone to our left where there was the concern. And now Dabo's offense facing a 3rd and 10. Some A-gap pressure that Feaster picks up as he looks downfield, but it's beyond into the outside of the 6'4" T. Higgins. Lamons had coverage.
Good coverage by Lamons. He's their best coverage guy. Even though he lines up to start possessions at safety, he can play nickel, he can play corner. A very versatile defender in the back end of this defense. One of 7 senior starters on this South Carolina defense.
4th and 10, and the Clemson offense is staying on the field. Ball at the 32-yard line. Could be punting here. We've seen that out of Bryant before, but instead he will look to run as he's going to have to dance his way back to the other side of the field and then comes back to Feaster. There had to be a lineman downfield there,
there's
Todd,
no
after
doubt.
all of that.
Well, Mitch Hyatt for sure was downfield. And you can't blame guys for getting downfield. They see the quarterback take off. He's a running quarterback.
An eligible receiver downfield. Offense number 76. That penalty's declined. First down, South Carolina. Timeout.
The South Carolina ball when we return. All Tigers here tonight.
ESPN College Football. Brought to you by Zales. 'Tis the season to save and sparkle more than ever. And Kia. Hurry in during Kia's Light Up the Holiday Sales event. Offers end soon.
Clemson offense and defense in gear tonight on ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton, by Hilton. Especially that defense pitching a shutout here, 5th best in the country in 3 and outs, number 2 in defensive efficiency. And they have been clamping down against South Carolina all night long.
Ball start, offense, number 72, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Well, they got 2 of their real leaders back this week. We already mentioned Dexter Lawrence. Kendall Joseph, number 34, one of their inside linebackers. He's been out the last 2 weeks as well. And he's really the kind of the quarterback of the defense, the signal caller, the calming influence for everybody. And they are getting healthy at the right time.
And that's the wrong time for the Miami Hurricanes. Tripped up that time by Skalski. You know, there's a stat that you and I live by in this new era of college football, and that is when framing the argument for a defense, looking at stop rate.
Yeah, the stop rate is the percentage of your defensive drives that either end in punts, turnovers, or turnovers on downs. And you look at those teams are at the top of that list, the top 5 in the country. And several of them are up there in that conversation for the college football playoffs. And then the points per drive is that other number.
2nd and 14. Wilkins nearly got to him, but affected the throw of Bentley.
Wilkins was a defensive end last year. He's so quick and so athletic. Watch the inside move. He just rips through, gets a hold of the jersey, and pursues the quarterback. And again, right now, Brent Venables knows his guys can pretty much pin their ears back and go after the quarterback.
And Bentley is only 1 of his last 7 pass attempts. And now a 3rd and 14 as the Clemson defense stems, and that brings about some movement
Ball
up
start.
front. Hayden Hurst.
Offense, number 81, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Well, we mentioned the 1 penalty against Clemson on Dabo Swinney. That's the 7th penalty of the game for South Carolina.
This is a much better football team that Will Muschamp is putting out there opposite Dabo, but this is a championship level Clemson team.
That's what you feel. You know, you can just feel this is a team that's been there. They know what it takes to play their best at this time of the year. And they've come in here and they've been a dominant team.
Here's Edwards on the receiver screen for only 3 yards. Holly?
Well, you talk about the champion mindset all game for Clemson. It is something that Dabo has really developed and nurtured over time. The way the players think, the way they buy in each and every week, the standard that they're playing to. He told us, you know, there's few teams in this position. The air is thin up here. There's just a few plays that are going to separate people from being good teams or being great teams, and that's what he's tried to nurture with his team, and I think it's working.
Yeah, and it's mental toughness. He says there's no question we have the talent. Do we have the mental toughness? And tonight they're showing both that talent and that mental toughness.
Charlton really hangs that one up there. Halfway through the 3rd, Clemson in complete control. Glad you're with us for ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton by Hilton. It was good to remind you that Allstate is proud to be part of the team that comes together to do good by contributing to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. And to date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. They've added to that total with the efforts of Clemson tonight. 27-0. Etienne's taken down by Brunson.
Nice play by Brunson. You know, for a young guy, he really is a disciplined linebacker. Showed great discipline with his eyes on that play. There were shifts, there was motions. Clemson tries to do that. They try to get your eyes in the wrong place. TJ Brunson was right where he was supposed to be at the end of that play.
No, Bryant just falls on it that time. Let's go to the studio to Adnan. Thank you, Adnan.
Well, one of the few mistakes we've seen by Clemson, a little bad snap by Justin Falcinelli. Brings up 3rd and long now, 3rd and 12.
Bryant going to look for something. Picked up a block, able to get out to the 35-yard line. The 4th down from there.
Job by the South Carolina defense, taking advantage of the bobbled snap, getting the negative yardage play, and then coming up with a stop on 3rd down. Flag down, though, over by the Clemson sideline.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct against number 16 in the defense. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Wow.
This is 16's first unsportsmanlike penalty of the game.
I don't think South Carolina has lost their competitive fight in this game.
I agree with that.
But they've lost their poise in some situations, and that's equally as important.
And with the circumstances, with the rivalry, and what it means in this state. I thought it was a fascinating conversation with Dabo yesterday for a guy who, born and raised in Alabama, played and coached in the Iron Bowl. As McLeod will take this past midfield to talk about what this rivalry is.
Well, he knows both sides. He played in 13 or coached in 13 Iron Bowls, and this is his 15th Clemson and South Carolina game. So he is well familiar with it. Knows the intensity of it. Anywhere you go in the state in the offseason. And they have had their way with it here the last 4 years now.
ETN being patient, waiting for a block on 2nd and 6, and he'll be maybe a half-yard short of that line to make.
That's the one area where ETN can continue to improve as the young back. He's so explosive and so fast. Sometimes he gets a little bit impatient and doesn't wait for those blocks to set up. Gets ahead of the blocks a little bit. That time he showed nice patience, getting close to the 1st down marker.
And here he is easily advancing things and getting one final push to the 32. Be a 1st down from there.
Again, when you think about what this offensive football team lost from a year ago, the productivity at the skill position. Now they returned 4 starters on the offensive line, and they returned Hunter Renfro and Deion Kane, but they lost some big-time performers off this offense. Take a look at what their big 3 did in this game last year.
I think number 4 was pretty decent.
He was pretty good. He was 3-0 against South Carolina, had big numbers all 3 years, but Wayne Gallman over 100 yards rushing. Mike Williams, the receiver, 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. They started this year a different looking team with a new quarterback, and they've leaned on that running game.
As Bryant was looking Kane's way.
The irony to me, though, and this is a tribute to the coaching staff at Clemson, is though even though their numbers are down in the passing game and total offense, their yards per play is just about the same. Last year was 6.2 yards per play they averaged. This year 6.1. So even though they haven't gained as many overall yards, their yards per play and their scoring per game are almost identical to a year ago.
They're at 6.1 yards per play tonight. 3rd and 9. Billy Bryant being tracked by Wanham. As he will tuck out of bounds. Sky Moore was pursuing him.
Thought Kelly Bryant left the pocket before he needed to on that one. Not sure he needed to leave. I think he could have stayed in there and waited to see if something opened up downfield on that third down play. Again, if I was Dabo Swinney right now, I would be concerned about my quarterback not taking any more unnecessary hits. You've got the game kind of where you want it. That doesn't mean take your foot off the gas pedal. But I wouldn't want my quarterback running unnecessarily at this point in the ballgame.
And this is a 4th and 7. Of course, his season was disrupted at one moment with 2 weeks of recovery after the ankle injury and then the concussion he suffered in the loss at Syracuse.
First, charge timeout. Clemson.
Well, some of the things they'll likely be thinking about as they use a timeout here, 4th and 7.
It's a Phil Knight birthday bash. 4 teams, 2 championships, 1 time only. Celebrate PK 80 tomorrow.
Williams-Brice Stadium. Dr. Pepper's Championship Drive Game of the Week as
Welcome back
Clemson
to Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
27-0.
Larry's got the knee brace working too.
Well, you can never know when Larry's going to be limping around. Fourth and 7. They run speed option. Bryant kept it the whole way and easily has the first down for Clemson.
First time they've shown that action, and it was wide open. South Carolina not ready for that speed option into the boundary, and Kelly Bryant gets the first down and is able to get out of bounds without taking a big hit.
Go with it again this time with the end crashing. He pitches to Etienne, who then is forced down by Moore and Wanham.
Clemson has their big backup tackle Tremaine Ankrum in the game right now, number 73. Sophomore out of Powder Springs, Georgia, in there for Mitch Hyatt. He's a guy they're really high on, can play both sides, swings between left and right tackle. Clemson, no need to play fast at this point. They don't have to huddle, but they don't have to play fast either.
Bryant going to go to the 10-yard line. McLeod, and he is met right at the stick.
Ray McLeod is a very valuable player to this offense. When we saw him last, he had a 77-yard punt return against North Carolina State. That was a huge play in that game. But he's versatile, can play running back or wide receiver.
First and goal, Etienne.
Well, we talked about Tremaine Ankrum, the left tackle. Watch him collapse the side. Watch him block down. There's a double team between the guard and the tackle, or the guard and the center. And Etienne runs right behind the block by big number 73 and into the end zone for the touchdown.
That is 12 rushing touchdowns now for Travis Etienne. He had already set the Clemson record for rushing touchdowns by a freshman. He has fit in just right to this offense this year. On a weekend that has really changed the way we look at things. Yesterday, Miami went on the road, and they didn't take to that setting against Pitt. Ohio State puts themselves in position. See what happens in the Big Ten title game. Georgia took care of business. Wisconsin remains undefeated. Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield leading the way for the Heisman campaign, and then the biggest of all, Auburn defeating Alabama.
Well, and it sets up another intriguing weekend next weekend. Wisconsin and Ohio State. Auburn will have to deal with Georgia again in the SEC championship. Oklahoma have to deal with TCU again.
Oklahoma beat TCU 38-20 back on November 11th. And of course, Georgia, I mean, they just took a knockout punch right in the face when they went up against Auburn last time. It was 40-17. And now the rematch will be coming their way in Atlanta. Here's Fenton on the return. Tried to catch a seam, didn't find anything. What's going on, Adnan? Interesting to see those teams battling it out with two guys that are big-time star power when the season began, right? Christian Kirk. Darius Geis, who obviously was dealing with injuries earlier this year. 5 yards out of Williams there.
Second and 5 at the 25.
It's been an interesting 7 days for us, this group, because we got to see Miami and spent a lot of time down there in South Florida last week, and they needed every bit of that home field setting to get past Virginia. Then we watched them yesterday, and now spending all this time with Clemson. Had them 2 times in the course of the past month. It leaves us with a pretty certain reaction next weekend.
Well, we knew, and we talked about Miami a week ago. You know, was their maturity and the character of their team, could it catch up to the ascension and the rise of their team when they were undefeated after the huge wins over Virginia Tech and Notre Dame? And it caught up to them yesterday. They did not look like a championship level team in any way, shape, or form. Now, they'll grow from that and learn from that. It'll be a much different team in Charlotte.
Now, he needed a hot read right there, Jake Bentley, because he had Dorian O'Daniel coming after him. Dorian O'Daniel, who is a Butkus finalist now, Holly.
Well, you know, I talked to Dorian about that, and he said when the semifinalist list came out, he was so excited and so honored that his name would even be mentioned with the word Butkus. And then he said, then I found out I was one of 5 finalists. He said, I honestly could not believe it. I was so impressed. He actually looked up all of the other 4 finalists. He's like, I can't believe I'm named in the same breath of those kids.
I think it's cool that he even knew who Dick Butkus was. A lot of today's players don't know who some of those historic players were. That's pretty cool.
Now, Joseph Charlton is one bright spot here for South Carolina. Another big boot as we take a peek at our all-state, all-hands-in play. Got the night started for Clemson.
Well, it was the first touchdown. It was a misread by Jake Bentley. It's cover 2. The corner sat there with eyes on the quarterback. And then he took that gift and paid it off with a touchdown. The 3rd pick 6 of the season for Clemson. The guy we just talked about, Dorian O'Daniel, had the other 2 pick 6s for Clemson's defense. Ryan Carter, a 3-year starter, got that one tonight.
As Choice is stacked up at the line there. Kobe Smith with the tackle for South Carolina. Seen Feaster, Etienne, Fuller, and Choice, as we have throughout the year, the running backs for Clemson. Last year was a blowout win that the South Carolina staff and players all had concern with.
And you have a quarterback who has now run the football 164 times. So he actually has more carries than any of the running backs.
2nd and 9 run, and Choice gets it ahead for what should be a first down for Clemson.
Last year, Deshaun Watson ran it 166 times in 15 games. And right now, Kelly Bryant is at 164 carries in 12 games.
Deshaun Watson with great respect for Kelly Bryant, especially after that road win at Louisville earlier this year when he went for 316, a touchdown, ran for a couple, and Watson tweeted, "He will be better than me." Here is Fuller out of the backfield as Bryant did a nice job of getting it to him.
You know, there's been a lot of talk about the thing he's not done well this year is throw the football downfield. His percentage is low throwing the ball beyond 15 yards. But I'm impressed with his patience and taking what this South Carolina defense gives him. And he knows he has some guys that can make plays when they get the ball in their hands. He's not a greedy quarterback. He's been very efficient tonight when he has thrown it. 21 of 31 now for the ball game.
As he connects with Mylan Richard, Herschel Walker's nephew. That should close out this dominating third quarter from Clemson. And that man, Kelly Bryant, who has connected with 11 different receivers. And number 3, Clemson, is rolling in this rivalry game. Glad you're with us watching the SEC on ESPN. College football primetime presented by Hampton by Hilton, part of Jiffy Lube Rivalry Series. And this is one of the great rivalries of the game. As Dabo Swinney himself says, listen, doesn't have the national relevance or credit, but in this state and between these two programs, it means the world. And it is going to be back-to-back years of a Clemson beatdown of South Carolina as Fuller is tackled after 2 yards there. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe with you as Clemson will be closing on the ACC championship game against Miami next Saturday night. They're starting to make their way out of Williams-Brice Stadium. Third and 5. Bryant picked off. Heck of a play that time by Nixon. And then Bryant has to go out there and tackle Keyshawn Nixon.
Well, everything has been thrown short. And this time, Nixon just stays in there. He squats on the slant route. The ball's thrown a little bit behind. And Nixon able to just reach in there in front of T. Higgins. He fought for the ball more than the freshman receiver Higgins did. And the first mistake we've seen from Kelly Bryant. But I put a little bit of that on the freshman receiver, too. He didn't fight for the football.
Kelly Bryant's first interception in his last 122 pass attempts. Got to go back to the North Carolina State game. As you see, Taylor Stallworth is down on the field. That gives us a chance to check in with Adnan in the studio. And interesting, in the midst of that game, Stanford fans and maybe some of the Stanford program getting word that they could be headed to the Pac-12 title game as Washington is shutting out Washington State 24-0.
I think you got to go to the end zone. Take a shot right now to your tight end Hurst. He's been so quiet here since early in the ball game.
And there is a tackle for a loss that time as Chris Register came knifing in.
And this Clemson defense and this Clemson program, they have won 54 straight games when they've held their opponents to 23 points or fewer. That goes back to 2010. I'd venture to say they have won every game when they hold their opponents to 0.
Usually works out that way, doesn't it? Defense has been superb.
It starts with their front, and then they've got a lot of speed behind it.
Ball was batted that time. Isaiah Simmons on the coverage of her. Simmons is a great looking athlete at 6'3", 225.
Yeah, they are high on him. Dabo Swinney, he was effusive in his praise of this guy as a special teams player and what he's going to become as a safety. You see the range and the quickness. He used the word creature. He didn't say he was a freak, didn't say he was a beast, says he's a creature, that he's kind of like a predator that swoops across the field. He's so fast and agile, and he showed it on that play right there.
Said the most explosive tackler on the team as well. 6'3", 225, a creature. Incomplete on 3rd and 11.
Just a lot of misfires by Jake Bentley. Some misreads by him and his receivers. Randricus Davis, the intended receiver, just have not been in sync. Will Muschamp wants to get some points on the board.
Well, this has been the threshold for Parker White. He's been really good inside of 40, and he has struggled beyond 40, and this is right at 40. Good job down the target line as South Carolina finally breaks through.
Watch me do this.
And we're going to be watching a lot of impactful football with the conference championship games. Todd, you, Holly, and I and the crew here are going to head out to California for USC, most likely against Stanford based on the way scores are going. But Miami, Clemson will be the ACC championship. Ohio State, Wisconsin could be the one that sends everything haywire.
Wisconsin is a really good football team. We saw them a couple weeks ago. I think there's a lot of people that say their schedule strength, even though they're undefeated, don't know. But if they can beat Ohio State, that will legitimize who they are in the mind and the eyes of a lot of people.
Let me tell you something. They play great defense. Not good, great. Yeah. What's up, Adnan? I see Ettling's over 300 yards passing tonight for LSU.
John Chavis, a defensive coordinator for A&M, was at LSU before that.
And Hunter Johnson is going to come in and replace Kelly Bryant. Johnson, the highly touted true freshman from Indiana, as he will hand off to Adam Choice, who has a nice 9-yard run. Johnson was a huge recruit who enrolled early this past year. And he has been able to get some time and mop up duty. Got some good time last week as well.
Yeah, you know, last week was a perfect game for Clemson. They played 94 players in their big win over the Citadel, and both of their backup quarterbacks not only played but threw for over 100 yards.
Holly?
Just to put a bow on the performance by Kelly Bryant tonight, I just wanted to remind people of his unusual story. Had a serious surgery in high school that left him hospitalized for a month, over a month. He lost 50 pounds, was unable to walk, had to use a walker, and Clemson stuck by him. They knew that he could recover. He fought back, and here he is winning this game in his first appearance against South Carolina.
You know, and when you say, Holly, I'm so glad you brought that up, of sticking by him with his commitment, as Rogers has it here. That was not an easy period of time. He had the emergency surgery. He committed to Clemson in April of that spring. In June of that year, he had another surgery. So there were real concerns about getting the weight back on, growing as a player, and going on and playing a senior year of high school football.
Yeah. And he's 11-1 as a starter. And so not only did he win the job and prove himself, but he has proven himself capable of leading this team where they want to go, and that is to try to defend their national championship. You know, I just think we've talked over the last several years so much about Alabama, and they're continuing to play at a certain level, a championship level. Clemson is playing at a similar kind of level under Dabo Swinney.
Choice continues to get work here as the clock will wind down past the 11-minute mark. There are so many comparisons to be made. Obviously, they swim now in the same pool of recruits of being national programs, national title contenders. Dabo, of course, and Alabama, Gene Stallings' acolyte, and understands very well the grand tradition of power programs. 2nd and 7 as Johnson will throw the ball and gets it complete to DJ Greenlee. So a completion for Hunter Johnson, the true freshman.
The other thing to keep in mind about Dabo Swinney, if they hold on when it appears for the win tonight, it'll be his 100th career win in 129 career games, which will tie him with Gary Patterson in terms of the fewest number of games to win 100. Both Urban Meyer and Chris Peterson, now at Washington but previously at Boise State, won 100 games in 118 career games. But Dabo Swinney has had a brilliant career as a head coach at Clemson.
Just think about the names, Todd, that you put out there. Fewest to 100 wins, fewest games to 100 wins. You're talking Urban, you're talking Coach Pete, and Gary Patterson, and now tonight it'll be Dabo Swinney.
Well, guys, I went to Clemson 3 days into fall camp this year to see how they would respond to being the national champions. And I was wondering, would they be getting too big for their britches? They had that shiny new building with the slide and all the bells and whistles. Well, after practice that day, Dabo pulled his team together. And when I say ripped them for 20 minutes on kids who had failed to show up on time to eat. Kids who were late, who didn't eat. He got on them for 30 minutes about the little things they weren't doing. And I knew right then they were not going to rest on their laurels.
There's the pitch. There's timeout to 4.
Well, again, I think Dabo, you know, he learned from great coaches when he played and coached at Alabama. When he got his chance to be a head coach, I mean, he had a pretty good plan and model of what he wanted his program to be. He's very big in building culture and nurturing that culture. And he got everybody at Clemson to buy into that. Not just players, coaches, administrators, everybody that's a part of that program is part of that culture.
This is a 4th and 2 with Fuller as the back. And that'll move the sticks and keep the clock counting down towards a big Clemson win. When you look at Clemson's resume, I know that there have been some who have criticized the College Football Playoff Selection Committee about dismissing the loss at Syracuse, but you really start going through their year and you consider the wins and when they played teams, exactly how we viewed some of those teams. A good road win at Louisville early in the year, a number 12 then Virginia Tech team at Virginia Tech.
I'll tell you another win that's a good looking win now. September 23rd, they blew out BC 34-7, and that's a team that has played really good football down the stretch in the ACC. This is a team that has an impressive resume. We were there to see them play in Raleigh against North Carolina State, or another ranked team. They had to fight for that one. And again, in that loss to Syracuse, Kelly Bryant was injured with a concussion, didn't finish the game.
There's Johnson as he pulled it and then darted for the sticks, and a flag is down. And you know, to your point of talking about how BC finished up the year, really.
Offense, number 11, 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
When you're losing at Syracuse and you're 7-7 with BC late in the game, and you watch the middle of the ACC this year was so competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, this conference, obviously, for a decade we talked about the SEC. But the middle of the ACC was really highly competitive football this year.
Well, I think one of the ways you always gauged how good the SEC was, one of the ways I did anyway, was the number of draft picks and high draft picks that were coming out of that league. And you look at the ACC over the last 5-6 years, they've had similar kind of numbers of guys getting drafted highly.
Here's Amari Rogers, who is the son of T. Martin, USC's offensive coordinator, of course, the former title-winning quarterback at Tennessee. T will be getting ready for that Pac-12 championship game next week with the Trojans.
Clemson 6 of 14 on 3rd downs tonight. Again, they were 10 of 15 last year in the ball game. They were 9 of 13 the year before. It's been a real problem for South Carolina against this Clemson offense.
Johnson on 3rd and 16. as he is picked off in the end zone by Steven Montag.
Yeah, if there's a middle safety, you can't loft this ball down the seam. That gives that safety too much time to make a play. Good play by the middle safety.
Timeout.
Reading the quarterback's eyes and breaking on the football. And with that much air under the football, that's an easy play for a middle field safety.
ESPN College Football is presented by Hampton by Hilton. Book a room today and follow your team all the way. And in part by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA.
Well, it was the second straight week that the ACC had two teams in the college football playoff top four. One didn't look like it yesterday. The other one very much does tonight. Clemson up 34-3 here in Columbia, South Carolina. As Bryant quickly gets it out to Smith.
The South Carolina offense, we mentioned at the beginning they were missing Shi Smith, the freshman, but they also are missing their best receiver and return man Deebo Samuel, who's been out since the Kentucky game with a fracture in his leg. And well, you can tell they miss him and his speed and his ability in a game like this when you need people to try to stretch this defense. Deebo Samuel was that kind of player. He has been out since that Kentucky game.
By far the most dynamic playmaker on the roster, and it just changes the complexion. But give them credit for fighting so hard.
Yeah.
And listen, a program that knows they're headed in the right direction, but a program that still there's a chasm between what they hope to be and what Clemson currently is. Bentley gonna just duck down at the line of scrimmage. Well, ESPN's Sports Center is going to be coming your way with Linda Cohn and Kenny Mayne, and they will talk about the Alabama loss in the Iron Bowl and how that impacts the college football playoff race. And JT Barrett, I don't know if you saw the injury today with Barrett and the circumstances surrounding that, how that could impact the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin. At a Sports Center coming up after the game with Linda and Kenny. Second down throw is complete to Hurst. Guy they call Garnet Thor. 24-year-old tight end, former pro baseball player.
And I think that 16-yard gain is the longest play of the game for the South Carolina offense. Last year, Clemson's defense held South Carolina to 218 total yards, and that put them at 153. So they are still under that mark.
Ball start, offense, number 78, 5-yard penalty, first down.
9 penalties, a season high for South Carolina. Come back with a tunnel screen for Brian Edwards. Let's go to the field to Holly.
Well, we told you about the adversity that Kelly Bryant had overcome. Jake Bentley, the South Carolina quarterback, has also had his fair share of adversity. When he was in 8th grade, he tore his ACL. Rehabbed from that, came back in 9th grade, tore his other ACL. So at a very young age, learned how to get through it, was away from the football field for a long time, had to fight to be back out here for the Gamecocks.
And then coming off of those injuries, Holly, we discussed a lot this week, graduating high school early after his junior year and jump-starting his career at South Carolina.
Now, the one thing about that, he is a little bit older than most college sophomores. He was held back in 6th grade. He actually turned 20 years old on Thanksgiving this week, on Thursday. So he's a little bit older than your normal sophomore might be, but still young in terms of quarterback years.
as Williams tries to get ahead for the first down. And that'll move the chains. South Carolina team that'll wait to hear where they will be placed in a bowl game. One of the SEC affiliated postseason destinations. And Clemson, of course, is looking to grab a crown next Saturday night and make the college football playoff. Crossing route that time by Edwards inside the 10 and lunging ahead for the touchdown. Brian Edwards, 38-yard score.
Maybe the best throw of the night for Jake Bentley. It hasn't been a fun night for him, but he put that one right on the spot on the deep crossing route, the in route to his top receiver, Brian Edwards, and the first touchdown of the ball game for the Gamecocks. A lot of backups in the game for this Clemson defense, but that was a heck of a throw.
And it means a lot to that guy, because he mentioned last year there were guys that just stopped competing. And here they're going to give it a fight right to the end, no matter what we've known the outcome to be for quite some time. Bentley with the touchdown strike to Brian Edwards. It's been Clemson dominating Dr. Pepper's championship drive game of the week. Lead the nation with wins over top 25 teams. They'll be coasting in here for their 5th of the year. South Carolina went from unranked to number 24 in the college football playoff rankings this past week. An 8-win South Carolina team. Start framing the picture for next weekend when we return. The Buick Drive recap gives us a chance to look at Hunter Renfro's 2 touchdowns tonight.
Well, third down near the goal line. Kelly Bryant knows where he's going to be. He's just a reliable guy. His second touchdown was just some broken tackles, some bad angles, and the little possession receiver turns into the big play receiver. For Renfro for the night, 4 catches, 75 yards, and the 2 touchdowns. He went 10 games with no touchdowns, and now he's had 3 in the last 2 ball games.
And now we see Zarek Cooper at quarterback. Adnan? Myles Gaskin has gone for 141 and 3 touchdowns tonight. He has been playing great down the stretch of this season. Zarek Cooper, the redshirt freshman from Georgia, who also got some playing time last week, of course, was thrown into action in the loss at Syracuse when Bryant was injured. All right, Todd, it's time to talk about how things now shape up with what Auburn did today. I see Auburn up here in your new top 6. Let me hear your mindset of how you came to this.
Yeah, so I think Clemson moves up to number 1. I think they're the most complete team right now. They're playing really good football. Number 2, I have Oklahoma. I still think that they are surging the best offense in college football, even though their defense is playing better. Their offense is what carries them. Auburn jumps to number 3. I mean, they've won 2 games against number 1 teams in the last couple weeks. They're very impressive. They are playing really well. Their defense has been great all year. Wisconsin, again, I think they're a really good football team that plays great defense. And I think if they win next week against Ohio State, they will get everybody's attention and prove that they deserve to be in the college football playoff. And then right outside of that, Georgia and Alabama. And both sitting there with 1 loss, and Georgia has a chance to avenge that loss in the SEC championship game. Some people back where I live probably wondering why Ohio State is not in there. If they win, next week, they'll be in the conversation for sure. But it's hard for me to get past that loss at Iowa with Ohio State. I know Auburn has 2 losses, but they don't have a loss like that loss Ohio State had at Iowa.
I think Auburn just creates such an interesting dynamic for the selection committee, because we always talk about best team, but truth be told, it ends up being best team of the pool of most deserving. Now, obviously, you win the SEC title. There's no way about it, but man, there are few playing better football right now than the 2 who met up on September 9th when Clemson beat them 14-6. And for Dabo Swinney, how about some history that is made? Career win number 100, tying Gary Patterson for the 3rd fewest games to reach 100 among active FBS coaches. Quite an accomplishment for Dabo, as Clemson will head to meet up with Miami with a lot of momentum. They take it 34-10. Well, for Todd and Holly, I'm Joe Tessitore, reminding you to enjoy the rest of your evening, including SportsCenter coming up in 15 seconds.